Hi, in this tutorial I will answer to a simple question that why water is a polar in nature. And in order to answer such type of questions where they want a reason for any molecule, like in this case water, to answer why they are polar in nature. First of all, uh, we need to know about the structure and the atoms involved in making that molecule. And about water, we know the molecular formula of water is H2O. One atom of oxygen bonded with two atoms of hydrogen. Now, in order to answer this question, not only the molecular mass is enough. We need a structural formula where we are uh, given the idea about the relative placement of each atom in a molecule, that how atoms are joined together with each other. So we will draw a simple structural formula where hydrogen is bonded with oxygen, making single bonds. So here we have oxygen atom singly bonded with hydrogen, and here we have the same case where oxygen is singly bonded with hydrogen. Now the concept of polarity comes in covalent compounds, in where the covalent bonding is involved. And what we know about covalent bonding is that there is involvement of sharing of electrons. Now, in covalent bonding, we are talking about the sharing of electrons. Now, this concept of polarity comes when there is unequal sharing of electrons. Water is a covalent compound where oxygen is sharing electrons with hydrogen, and hydrogen is sharing electrons with oxygen. So it's a simple covalent compound, but it's polar covalent compound because there is unequal sharing of electrons. Here we have hydrogen, it's making a covalent bond with oxygen. So in an ideal situation, if we have to talk about the sharing of electrons, then it has to be ideally in the middle of hydrogen and oxygen. So these electrons in ideal situation, they are in the middle of the hydrogen oxygen bond. So there is equal share of electron density in both hydrogen and oxygen. But now, in order to explain that why this is a polar molecule, we have to bring in the term electronegativity, which simply means the ability of an element to attract electrons towards itself. As oxygen is more electronegative than hydrogen. And we defined electronegativity, the ability of an element to attract electrons towards itself. Oxygen is more electronegative than hydrogen. So, in that case, we won't be having an ideal situation where the charge density is equally distributed among hydrogen and oxygen. So, in this case, the electron density, the electrons will shift partially towards oxygen. They shift partially. Here, these signs means partiality, sigma signs. So the electrons partially move towards oxygen. Never say completely. In complete sense, it will be forming ionic compound, but it is not. So the electrons are pulled by oxygen partially towards itself. So there will be unequal distribution of electrons. So in that case, the hydrogen will be partially lacking electrons, so it will attain partial positive charge, and electrons will partially attract electrons towards itself, so it will have partially excess of electron density, so it will have partial negative charge. So in this case, why water is polar is because the bond between hydrogen and oxygen, the hydrogen and oxygen have different electronegativity. Oxygen is attracting electrons more strongly comparative to hydrogen. So this makes electron density to shift towards oxygen, which gives it partial negative charge, and hydrogen will be left with partial positive charge. So in this case, this makes water a polar compound. So this reasoning questions all about the molecules, not only water. Here we have taken water as a test molecule. So this criteria could be adopted for any molecule to answer whether why it is polar or why it is not non-polar. So thank you so much.